Have you ever wanted to have a dragon of your own? Does the idea seem absurd? Unrealistic? The latest live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon is here to fulfill that dream. While others have cats and dogs as pets, a boy befriends a fierce black dragon, forming a bond that transcends species, beginning with a great battle between humans and dragons. In the distant northern lands lies the Viking village of Berk. The villagers here are burly and brave, making their living through fishing and livestock farming. However, this seemingly peaceful land is haunted by a relentless nightmare. While other places might suffer from a plague of rats, this village is frequently plagued by dragons. Scorching flames burn the earth, constantly threatening the villagers' lives. Whenever the dragons wreak havoc, Chief Stoic leads the charge to slay them. Among the crowd, a special teenager emerges. His nickname is Hiccup, and he is the chief's son. Unlike Stoic, who is strong and robust, Hiccup is slender and weak, often clumsy in battle. Therefore, whenever the dragons attack, his father forbids him from participating in the frontline combat. However, Hiccup has never given up. His dream is to slay a dragon with his own hands, just like his father. Of course, there is a personal motive. The girl he admires, Astrid, is a brave warrior, and he desperately wants to prove himself in front of her. As he fantasizes about successfully slaying a dragon and earning the villagers' respect, the most mysterious dragon species, the Night Fury, suddenly appears. This type of dragon never steals food and rarely appears in human society, but its attacks are always precise, and no one has ever successfully hunted a Night Fury. So, Hiccup decides to be the first. He seizes the opportunity when his father isn't looking, pushes his self-made launcher toward the Night Fury, and fires. To his surprise, he actually hits the target. However, in the next second, scorching flames follow closely, and Hiccup can only flee in panic. Fortunately, Stoic arrives just in time to save him, and Hiccup barely escapes with his life. Soon after, the dragon horde flies away with the stolen food, and Stoic is busy cleaning up the mess. Hiccup, however, excitedly tells his father about his feat of hitting the Night Fury, but no one believes him, not even his father, who looks at him with extreme disappointment. After being doubted by Stoic, Hiccup feels incredibly disheartened, but once he calms down, he still wants to prove his abilities to his father. So, the next morning, Hiccup sneaks out of the house while no one is looking and sets off alone to find the Night Fury he injured. Meanwhile, to completely eliminate the threat posed by the dragons, Stoic decides to change his strategy. He gathers all the warriors in the village and proposes a plan to turn passive defense into active offense, stating that only by killing the leader of the dragons can the villagers achieve lasting peace. As soon as he finishes speaking, the warriors all express their agreement. Then, Stoic entrusts the blacksmith Gobber with training the children on the island and teaching them dragon-slaying techniques. Gobber seizes the opportunity to give Hiccup a chance, and after much persuasion, Stoic finally agrees. However, at this moment, Hiccup has already followed the direction in which the Night Fury fell and ventured deep into the forest, where he finds the injured Night Fury. His heart is filled with excitement and confidence. If he kills this black dragon, he can prove himself to his father and the villagers. So, Hiccup takes out his dragon-slaying knife and musters his courage to approach the legendary Night Fury. However, just as he is about to deliver the fatal blow, he accidentally locks eyes with the black dragon. The helplessness and despair in its eyes deeply pierce Hiccup's heart. Seeing the black dragon slowly close its eyes and give up resistance, he cannot bear to strike. After much hesitation, he turns to cut the ropes binding the Night Fury. But in the next second, the black dragon rushes in front of him, staring at him fiercely with its cold eyes. Hiccup trembles with fear under the powerful pressure, but the Night Fury only opens its bloody mouth, lets out a sharp scream, and then turns to fly away. As night falls, the terrified Hiccup finally returns home, only to find his father waiting for him. His father tells him that he has signed him up for dragon-slaying training camp. After experiencing what happened in the valley, Hiccup clearly knows that he cannot bring himself to do it, but his father seriously says every child in the village must learn to slay dragons. Then he hurriedly leaves. The next day, the dragon-slaying training camp officially begins. His peers are full of fighting spirit, considering killing dragons as the ultimate honor. At this moment, Hiccup suddenly appears, and seeing this weak companion, everyone can't help but mock him. Just as a fight is about to break out, the blacksmith Gobber walks in and signals the start of today's training. Then, he opens the iron door behind him, releasing a cute-looking meatlug, the dragon with the lowest bite force, most suitable for training new recruits. However, Gobber still overestimates them, and soon after the training begins, several people are eliminated one after another. At this moment, Astrid suddenly appears, helping to deflect the fourth flame from the meat lug, but the falling shield rolls to Hiccup's side, instantly attracting the meat lug's attention. The fifth flame sprays out, and Gobber steps in to help in time. Then, he takes the opportunity to emphasize to everyone, dragons are naturally bloodthirsty and unreasonable, so you must always stay alert on the battlefield. But Hiccup does not agree with this statement. So to verify his doubts, Hiccup goes to the lakeside where the Night Fury disappeared again, only to find the mysterious black dragon trapped in the lake, unable to take off no matter how hard it tries. After careful observation, he finds that its tailside wing is seriously injured. Dragons that lose their balance cannot continue to soar in the sky. Hiccup becomes more interested in the Night Fury. After returning to the village, he eagerly flips through all the dragon illustrations, but there are very few records about the Night Fury. What secrets does this mysterious dragon hold? Meanwhile, Stoic has already taken the warriors on a ship to embark on a dragon-slaying journey. But unexpectedly, as soon as the ship enters a narrow waterway, it is suddenly attacked by a dragon horde. Despite the poor results of the proactive attack, the dragon-slaying training continues on schedule the next day. Hiccup, with a lifeless expression, holds his shield and continues to cause trouble for his teammates, only to be rescued by others in the end.
Just let me... Their own medicine, eh? Also...
After barely enduring the terrible training, Hiccup's good mood is almost gone. However, driven by strong curiosity, he still brings a fat fish and enters the valley where the Night Fury resides again. At this moment, the Night Fury is hiding behind a rock, its eyes full of vigilance and distrust. Seeing this, Hiccup quickly draws his dagger in front of it and throws it on the ground, then carefully approaches with the fish. Looking at the Night Fury's unique mouth, Hiccup gives it a cute name, Toothless. At this moment, the unsatisfied Toothless suddenly approaches, staring at Hiccup and continuing to ask for more food. Knowing that the other party only has one fish, it tilts its head and thinks for a moment, then spits out half a fishtail, using its eyes to signal Hiccup to eat it. Faced with Toothless's selfless sharing, Hiccup can only smile embarrassedly and force himself to take a few bites of the raw fish. The sour taste makes his facial features contort, and seeing this, Toothless imitates him and smiles. Hiccup's facial expression is stunned, and he can't help but reach out to touch its head, but Toothless turns away proudly, then flies to the ground and spits out scorching dragon breath, making itself a warm little nest, and comfortably falls asleep. However, during this period, its gaze occasionally falls on Hiccup. When it sees the other party seriously drawing itself with a branch, Toothless curiously comes over, holding a small broken tree in its mouth, and imitates Hiccup's actions, creating a drawing on the sand. Although the lines are simple and messy, Hiccup is very happy. Dragons are indeed different from what humans have recorded. They have a pure and cute side. In this way, the trust between the man and the dragon deepens. When Hiccup reaches out to touch Toothless again, it actually takes the initiative to rub against his palm. But this pure black dragon is still shy, and after a brief contact, it immediately turns away. Returning to the tribe, everyone gathers around the bonfire, listening to Gobber's heroic stories of slaying dragons, but Hiccup remains silent. Now, his dream has changed, and he is no longer interested in slaying dragons, unable to understand why humans and dragons cannot coexist peacefully. So, a bold idea comes to his mind. Returning to his room, Hiccup stays up all night drawing blueprints, preparing to install a mechanical tail wing for the injured Toothless so that it can soar in the sky again. The next morning, Hiccup carries a basket of fat fish to the valley, and while Toothless is enjoying the food, carefully sneaks behind it and installs the homemade mechanical tail wing. However, Toothless immediately senses something is wrong. It suddenly spreads its wings and tries to fly high, but the tail wing is not fully deployed yet, and soon, Toothless loses its balance. Hiccup forcefully opens the mechanical tail wing, but an accident happens quickly. Excited Toothless makes a sharp turn and throws Hiccup into the lake. The success of the first test flight gives Hiccup confidence, and he enthusiastically continues to improve the tail wing. After dozens of failed tests, he finally finds the key, and the combination of leather and wooden bones gradually evolves. Through continuous testing, Hiccup records every change in the tail wing. After dozens of days of training, the cooperation between the man and the dragon becomes more tacit, and their feelings deepen in their interactions. Toothless even allows Hiccup to touch its head freely. In their daily interactions, Hiccup also discovers various habits and weaknesses of dragons and applies them to his training. Soon, his performance becomes outstanding, earning the respect and recognition of his peers. However, his changes attract Astrid's attention. As the strongest dragon-slaying warrior of the new generation, she is eager to find out the reason for Hiccup's strength. So, after finishing the training, she secretly follows him to the forest, but due to her unfamiliarity with the terrain, she quickly loses track. Hiccup and Toothless's secret remain undiscovered for the time being. Soon after, Stoic returns to the village with the dragon-slaying warriors. This trip not only failed to find the dragon's base, but also resulted in the loss of dozens of tribesmen. Stoic's face is very ugly. But at this moment, Gobber proudly talks about Hiccup's outstanding performance in the training ground, and Stoic looks incredulous. Is this still the son he remembers as weak and troublesome on the field? Meanwhile, Hiccup is riding Toothless in the sky, continuing to test different functions of the tailwing. Being able to soar in the sky again excites Toothless, and it can't help but flap its wings and fly higher. Unexpectedly, the mechanical tailwing can't bear the weight at this moment, and Toothless loses its balance again. Hiccup, riding on the dragon's back, is the first to be affected. Fortunately, during the rapid descent, he successfully grabs the strap on Toothless and sits back on the dragon's back. Then, he decisively steps on the pedal, adjusting the posture and angle of the tailwing, and the man and the dragon narrowly pass through the canyon and continue to fly safely in the sky. After returning home, Hiccup continues to think about how to improve the tailwing. Unexpectedly, his father suddenly barges into the room at this moment. Stoic's words make Hiccup panic for a moment, thinking that his secret with Toothless has been discovered. It turns out that his father is happy about Hiccup's training results. Stoic is so excited that he stumbles over his words. He solemnly hands over his late wife's belongings to his son, hoping that he will inherit his legacy and kill a dragon with his own hands. Hiccup feels a mix of emotions. His father's recognition seems to come a step too late. Now, he is no longer the boy who once longed to slay dragons. So, he finds an excuse to end this late-night father-son conversation. However, life must go on. Soon, the assessment of the dragon-slaying training camp is coming to an end. Hiccup, wearing a helmet made from his mother's breastplate, kills a dragon at the fastest speed. This result makes Astrid both anxious and angry. After all, she was previously the most outstanding trainee in the camp. So she follows Hiccup again and finally discovers the hidden valley. Astrid rushes forward and questions him, "Who have you been meeting here recently?" Hiccup naturally cannot reveal Toothless's existence. Just as the two of them are struggling with each other, Toothless, thinking that Hiccup is in danger, suddenly rushes out to protect his friend. Seeing this, Hiccup quickly snatches the battle axe and throws it away, standing between them to try to ease the tension. To prevent the secret from being exposed, Hiccup makes a quick decision and has Toothless grab Astrid, placing her on a towering cliff. Seeing that her life is in danger, Astrid can only reluctantly climb onto the dragon's back as Hiccup asks. Knowing that it's useless to reason with her at this moment, Hiccup directly signals Toothless to take off.
If we survive, I'm gonna kill you!
I have a temporary dragon malfunction! I'm clear!
After personally experiencing the charm of flying, Astrid finally lets go of her resistance, takes the initiative to touch Toothless, and apologizes to it. As soon as she finishes speaking, Toothless gives up its aerial acrobatics and flies quickly and steadily in the sky with the two of them. Astrid can't help but reach out to touch the clouds. At this moment, she also completely lets go of her prejudice against the dragon race and understands Hiccup's inner struggle. She takes the initiative to ask him how to deal with tomorrow's assessment, because the content of the exam is to kill a dragon with her own hands. Hiccup says that he will try to persuade everyone, but Astrid thinks this idea is unrealistic. Does he want to take every villager on a dragon ride? Moreover, the grudge between humans and dragons has lasted for a long time, and the hatred cannot be erased overnight. Just as the two of them are about to argue, Toothless suddenly seems to sense something and flies rapidly in one direction uncontrollably. What's even more terrifying is that along the way, they collide with countless dragons. They look fierce and terrifying, with a bag of food hanging on their claws. Hiccup doesn't understand why. He can only hold on to Toothless tightly to avoid falling off the dragon's back during the collision. But soon, he discovers that the destination of these dragons is the home of the Dragon King. It has these dragons steal food and livestock from humans to satisfy its ever-hungry appetite. Once a dragon fails to deliver food on time, it will be swallowed by the Dragon King. What's worse, the Dragon King seems to sense the presence of humans at this moment. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Toothless successfully escapes the dragon's lair with the two of them. At this time, they finally understand. These dragons attack the village out of helplessness and cannot resist. After returning to the valley, Astrid wants to tell the villagers about this, but Hiccup is afraid that Toothless will be harmed and asks her to keep it a secret for the time being. He firmly believes that when the time is ripe, humans and dragons will achieve true peaceful coexistence. But will things really go as smoothly as he thinks? The next day, the graduation assessment of the dragon-slaying training camp is held as scheduled. Everyone is looking forward to Hiccup's performance, and Stoic is proudly announcing that his son will be the next Dragon Slayer ace. But unexpectedly, amid the overwhelming cheers, Hiccup only picks up a short sword. Compared to the dragon burning with scorching flames, his equipment has no chance of winning.
Ready.
But this is exactly what Hiccup wants. He is determined not to slay dragons anymore, but to tame the violent dragon in front of him with his understanding of dragon habits. Stoic, fearing that his son will get hurt, suddenly lets out an angry roar. The dragon, whose emotions have already calmed down, immediately senses the danger and launches a frenzied attack on Hiccup. At this critical moment, Toothless in the valley hears the cry for help. Realizing that Hiccup is in danger, even though it cannot fly on its own, Toothless still rushes towards the training ground without hesitation. At this time, the training ground is already in chaos. Astrid tries to help drive away the dragon, but to no avail. Just as he is about to lose his life to the dragon, Toothless dives down like a black lightning bolt, spraying scorching flames to drive away the dragon. In no time, the dragon is intimidated by Toothless and retreats into the cage in fear. However, at this moment, the training ground is already in an uproar, and people only see the legendary Night Fury in their eyes. Immediately, all the warriors rush forward with weapons, trying to kill Toothless and prove their strength. Out of self-defense instinct, Toothless fights with the Viking warriors. Fearing that the situation will become more uncontrollable, Hiccup hurriedly calls Toothless, signaling it not to harm humans.
Don't take it down!
Toothless obediently gives up resistance and is subdued by the villagers. The angry Stoic locks Toothless up. Hiccup argues with him, but accidentally reveals the dragon's base. Stoic immediately becomes excited. Disregarding his son's dissuasion, he immediately gathers the warriors in the village and sets off fully armed to the dragon's base.
We're sailing dawn!
Stoic orders Toothless to be tied to the bow of the ship and forced to lead the way. Hiccup watches all this helplessly, his heart increasingly hating his impulsiveness. At this moment, Astrid suddenly finds him and encourages him to cheer up, because Toothless is still waiting for him to rescue.
The rest of us would have done it. Because I want to remember what you say right now.
Hiccup is deeply moved by these words, so he regains his courage and, with his companions from the dragon-slaying training camp, goes to the dungeon where the dragons are imprisoned. Then, Hiccup tames several restless dragons in his own way. On the other side, under Toothless's leadership, the huge fleet successfully reaches the dragon's base. The Viking warriors disembark one after another and set up mechanisms near the nest. Stoic, holding a weapon, walks to the front of the team and passionately declares, "Today, we will wipe out the dragons once and for all." As soon as he finishes speaking, the catapult starts working, and the violent impact forcibly breaks open the mountain wall. Then 2 lighting lamps are precisely thrown into the cave. Seeing the countless dragons in front of them, Stoic is stunned on the spot. But things have come to this point, and he can only harden his head and go forward to fight. But strangely, these dragons do not attack, but seem to be avoiding something and quickly fly out of the cave. The Viking warriors look at each other in confusion, unaware that the crisis has not been resolved. Suddenly, the entire mountain begins to collapse, followed by a deafening dragon roar. In the next second, a giant dragon hundreds of meters tall breaks out of the mountain, and stones fall from the sky one by one. Stoic quickly orders everyone to evacuate quickly. But in the face of absolute power, humans are as small as ants, and the entire fleet is instantly swallowed by the sea of fire. In order to protect the lives of his people, Stoic, as the village chief, steps forward to divert the Dragon King's attention. Gobber sees this, and without a word, stays to help. At this critical moment, a fireball suddenly hits the Dragon King. It turns out that Hiccup and his companions riding the tamed dragons arrive just in time. The few of them cooperate flexibly and skillfully, quickly restraining the Dragon King. The fearless actions of the children infect the older generation on the ground, and they also join the battle, helping to restrain the brutal Dragon King together, while Hiccup takes the opportunity to rescue Toothless.
I'm good.
Be careful!
I got you, fish legs. Yeah! What's wrong?
But just as he is about to unlock the chains, the ship is stepped into the sea by the Dragon King. Toothless is pulled into the depths by the chains, and Hiccup sees this and rushes forward without hesitation. But no matter how hard he tries, he cannot free Toothless from its bonds. As he is about to lose consciousness, a large hand pulls him ashore. It turns out that his father, Stoic, arrives just in time. Without waiting for his son to speak, Stoic dives into the sea again and decisively cuts the iron chains binding Toothless. At this moment, the stubborn Viking warrior finally lets go of his prejudice against the dragons. Seeing that he is safe and sound, Hiccup immediately leaps onto the dragon's back. At this moment, Stoic finally understands his son's intentions. With these words from his father, Hiccup becomes more determined. He rides Toothless and soars into the sky, and the thrilling final battle is about to begin. At this time, his companions on the battlefield are already a bit exhausted. Seeing Astrid in danger, Toothless immediately accelerates and sprays scorching flames at the same time, precisely interrupting the Dragon King's fatal attack. Then, with a beautiful 360-degree spin, it easily catches the falling Astrid. Then, Toothless continues to soar. At this moment, a bold plan emerges in Hiccup's mind. He wants to use Toothless's speed advantage to consume the Dragon King's strength and patience. Hiccup directly sets the tail wing to the fastest speed, and Toothless rushes into the clouds, drilling into the thick cloud layer. The Dragon King, unwilling to show weakness, follows closely behind, but its vision is obscured by the clouds and fog, and it has never been able to find Toothless's trace. Moreover, long-distance flight is not its forte, and soon the Dragon King loses its patience and begins to attack indiscriminately. Although Toothless flexibly turns around to try to avoid it, the flames still burn the mechanical tail wing. Seeing this, Hiccup makes a decisive decision and controls Toothless to dive rapidly. Just as the Dragon King is about to deliver a fatal blow from behind, it seizes the opportunity to turn its head and spray flames, directly igniting the dragon flame that the Dragon King has not yet had time to spray. The out-of-control Dragon King instantly loses its balance and finally crashes to the ground like a meteorite. The strong impact wave throws Hiccup into the sea of fire, and Toothless fearlessly rushes into the flames. Stoic on the ground sees this and quickly rushes into the sea of fire, but only sees the seriously injured Toothless, thinking that his son has already died here. Stoic is extremely sad and realizes that he has made a big mistake. Other Viking warriors are also immersed in sadness and remorse. At this moment, Toothless slowly opens its eyes and looks at them, then opens its wings, revealing the unconscious Hiccup. In the end of the story, Hiccup successfully wakes up, but the brutal war causes him to lose his left leg, just like Toothless loses its left tail wing, and the pain is their metal. But from this moment on, the relationship between humans and dragons finally changes, and the centuries-old war finally comes to an end. The tribe, which used to take pride in slaying dragons, finally lives in harmony with the dragons. Hiccup not only earns the respect and love of his people, but also receives a new mechanical tail wing. In this way, he and Toothless can soar in the sky again. At this point, the movie ends. As a live-action adaptation of an animated film, this movie has been highly praised since its release. Many fans praise it as a one-to-one perfect replica of the animated classic, almost achieving the top configuration in respecting the original work. In addition, the special effects of the movie are top-notch, with various dragons' CG effects being incredibly realistic, and the visual impact of the flying scenes is shocking.